Welcome friends to another r/am I the jerk here video. Would you be the jerk for filing a police report on your parents? We'll find out, but first a story from Yogmoft. Am I the jerk because I want my wife to drink my tea less? So like any family, we drink more than just water. My wife buys Crystal Light to put in all her water, buys those sugar-free carbonated ice drinks, currently has 2 Olipop sodas in the fridge, and some ginger ale. I don't like carbonated drinks, so I really just stick to water and tea. We buy liter bottles of a few Japanese tea drinks, as well as, when I can find it, a milk tea drink that's a relatively rare find. This is my favorite treat drink. My wife has full reign of all the other drinks in the fridge, including my tea, but she gets very mad at me when I ask her to save the milk tea for me, though I'm not really enforcing any kind of hard rule, and I always let her have a few sips when I get a glass if she doesn't have one as well. Today when I got home, I could see she had a glass of it. She left it on the counter. And then just now she asked me to get her another glass of it. I said she's drinking more of it than I am, and she absolutely raked me over the coals for it, calling me selfish and a brat, that she likes it too, and that I can't have it all to myself. I feel like she has all these drinks and I really only have the teas. And one that we can't stock with any kind of frequency is my favorite soft drink. She had already drank about 2 to 3 times more of the tea in the carton than I have. Am I being unreasonable about this, or should she be more receptive to my requests? I think if you want to try to come to an agreement where you go 50-50, I think that makes sense. But for you to say, oh, it's my favorite, so don't drink it. This is mine. Well, frankly, that's honestly just kind of selfish. Do you think it's fair to lay dibs to something that's your absolute favorite when the other side does like it? It might not be their favorite, but they do want some? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Our next story is from Realistic N465. Am I the jerk for shaving my baby's unibrow? I have a baby girl who has a very thick unibrow. Of course, I think she's beautiful, including her bushy little brow. But I'm so tired of the comments from other people. Literally on a daily basis, people tell me I should dress her up as Frida Kahlo for Halloween, jokingly ask if she has a caterpillar on her face, tell me dad must be really hairy, etc. Nobody seems to notice anything about her except that unibrow. So I shaved a little separation into her brow. I used a tiny little facial razor that's very gentle on skin, and made sure to take care of her skin afterwards. It didn't cause any sort of irritation or issues, and I've continued to do it every week or so. My husband finally noticed. I did it initially about a month ago, and demanded to know how I could possibly do something like that to our child. He's angry with me because 1, I didn't run it by him first, 2, I'm going to give her body image issues, and 3, there's nothing wrong with a unibrow. I told him when she's old enough to voice her opinions, she can tell me what she wants. But until then, I'm going to keep shaving it so that people notice more than just her unibrow. He told me to post it on here to prove to me that I'm the jerk. To me, I think OP's not the jerk. Honestly, they're looking out for their own sanity, if anything, because I think, honestly, unibrows are something that people seem to just... There's no off limits about talking about it. To me, I think this is no different than choosing different clothes for your baby, or cutting their hair if need be, or styling it, stuff like that. Our next story is from Grandpa Stranger. Am I the jerk for treating my grandpa like a stranger at a family event? So I, and my 3 siblings and 9 cousins, have a grandpa that's not really around for most of us. Around 10 years ago, he decided he only wanted to spend time with 2 specific grandkids, the children of his favorite daughter. He doesn't speak to the rest of us unless we're at an event, and even then he barely says anything. Last time we saw him, he was at a wrestling tournament. He went to watch my cousin, and left as soon as my brother's name was called for his match. So it feels pretty deliberate that he doesn't talk to us. For reference, I'm the oldest grandchild at 20, the rest are all between 5 and 17. Anyways, my brother had this idea that the next time we saw him at an event, we should just act like we don't know him. He never remembers who we are anyways. I thought it would be funny. So last week was one of my cousin's birthdays, one of the cousins he likes, and he was there. He didn't interact with us for most of the party, but towards the end of it, he came up to myself and my sister and said hello. I said, "Oh hey, you're X's grandpa, right? It's so nice to meet you." He looked confused and said, "Well, yes, but aren't you Y's kids?" I responded with, "We are. Are you related to her or something? You look kind of like our grandpa, but he hasn't spoken to us in years." He was visibly pissed and called me disrespectful before stomping off. Most of the family thinks what I did was funny and not a huge deal, but his wife and the parents of my cousins, his faves, are super pissed at me. His wife told me this will ensure he never speaks to us again. Fine by me. I don't really care that he's mad at me, but was this a really big jerk thing to do? I thought it was pretty tame as far as jokes go, but clearly people disagree with me. I think OP's not the jerk. I put myself in OP's situation, and this is a family member who didn't care about me, didn't come to visit me, chose to only spend time with his special favorites. Well then, to me, that person might as well be a stranger. You might as well treat them like a stranger. By the way, if you're enjoying these stories, make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons down below so you never miss any of my daily videos. Every single video has awesome stories like our next story from Keybar9915. Am I the jerk for telling my son that being a nerd doesn't mean that he's superior to anyone, especially his little sister? I have two kids, Jake and Jamie. Jake is 16-year-old male and big into, the media I like is my entire personality, and I'm better than you because I like those things, and has grown up to be very judgmental, cold, and mean. We honestly don't know how this happened, but his nasty attitude comes out the most at his little sister. Jamie is 14-year-old female and is a very bubbly, friendly girl. She makes friends with everyone everywhere she goes, and is also kind of a mini trendsetter for her school. She started selling homemade scrunchies at school and it took off. Jake makes fun of her all the time for being vapid, girly, etc. So my husband talked to him about misogyny because we were both shocked on where that came from. We thought the issue was handled and he started to be nicer to Jamie. Until the last week of school, Jamie came home from school having won an award for the scrunchie business. We were proud of her and had tacos, her favorite, for dinner. Mind you, if Jake did something like that, we'd do the same. We love to celebrate their successes. Well, Jake was pissy at dinner and interrupted to talk about his video game accomplishments. We were all very polite and listened and congratulated him. He looked at his sister and was like, "And I did that myself without having to make everyone else hear about it all the time and dressing up like a pick-me to get everyone's attention." I just looked at my husband, then Jake, and said, "Being a nerd doesn't make you superior to anyone in this family, Jake. You can like video games and still be a nice person to your family, especially your little sister. Quit acting like a little snot." He got red in the face and took his little tantrum upstairs to his room. Since then, he's barely talked to anyone and just holes up in his room playing games all day. My husband did tell me that I shouldn't have said that because it's going to pit them against each other more, even though Jamie doesn't get why her brother treats her like this. Am I the jerk? I think OP's not the jerk here. Personally, I think the behavior this kid learned, either from being in circles on the internet or in school, is very concerning. I would hope maybe you could control their internet usage a little bit more. I'm not saying spy on them, but I have a feeling they're probably in some group chat or game group or a Discord or something, or maybe even just hanging out on like a 4chan forum where you get like a hive mind of misogyny and a general hatred for like normies or something. I would say therapy and limiting internet access is the go-to here. Honestly, I feel like social media as a whole is just been horrendous for the mental psyche of millions of people, young and old. Our next story is from Crackhead Sexual. Am I the jerk for telling my parents to return my meds or I'll file a police report? I, 21-year-old male, had a surgical removal of a cyst this afternoon. Mine had a pretty nasty infection, so it had to be removed ASAP. I went to the hospital with my fiance, 19-year-old male, and my parents, 62-year-old male and 57-year-old female. Everything went very smoothly, thankfully, but as my parents were driving me and my fiance back to our apartment, we got into a discussion about the medication I was prescribed. Now, my parents are paranoid when it comes to anything addictive. I don't blame them. I'm aware that hydrocodone is incredibly addictive, and am wary of it myself. They straight up told me that I shouldn't take it at all and just take Tylenol and ibuprofen. I told them I'd rather have the medication I was prescribed just in case my pain got bad once the hospital meds wore off. I wasn't allowed to drive after my surgery, so they were supposed to pick up my medication for me. Well, they did, but with 2 of my hydrocodone pills missing. Well, that's fishy and annoying. I texted my mom basically asking where the pills went. She didn't respond, so I kind of forced it by telling her I'd have to report the pharmacist if it wasn't her. She said, I took the other two, and I took them because that's all you can legally have and drive fiancé to work tomorrow. And then, okay, wow. I had set money aside for him to be able to get an Uber tomorrow if he needed to anyways, which she would have known had she talked to me about it or even brought up these concerns at all. I was pissed. I texted this huge paragraph that was basically saying, either give them back or I'm filing a police report, that stealing hydrocodone is a felony, that I understand her fear, but this was absolutely not the way to go about it. 40 minutes later, I get a "we're here" text and a pounding on my door. I waddle over and open, and my parents are standing in the doorway pissed as freak. My dad starts talking about how it was absolutely not okay to threaten legal action and that I needed to apologize. He said it was his fault that no one talked to me about it, that he's sorry, but then goes on about a 5-minute rant of how I have an addictive personality. I was a smoker when I was 18 and smoked weed, how he's concerned for me, how he would never use the law against me, that the surgeon is giving them out like candy, and that he's heard a lot of cases of people getting addicted to these and didn't want to risk it. I said that being concerned wasn't the issue. He couldn't take away my say on the situation. He couldn't just steal pills from me just because he's scared. At the very least, he should discuss his concerns with me like an adult. He did not like that. He played this game of keep away with the bottle, holding it out to me and then yanking it away to say more to me. Just kept arguing. I got them back after a lot of fighting. Am I wrong here? I need to know I didn't overreact. Am I the jerk? I think it's great the parents are concerned. They don't want anything to happen to their kid. But I think OP's definitely not the jerk here. I put myself in that situation and I think I would do the exact same thing because that's just not okay. Honestly, chances are you might not even need that medication. But God forbid if you end up needing it, it sure is nice to have it. Imagine OP has miserable pain and they run out of medication because their parents got cold feet and kept 2 of them for themselves. I think OP shouldn't let the parents ever try to bully them or gaslight them about this. I think OP's totally in the right here. Our next story is from AITA Bad Cousin. Am I the jerk for not inviting my obese cousin on the family hike? In recent years, I've made more of an effort to be close with my family. My family all hates my mother and distance themselves from her. But now that I'm an adult, I can facilitate my own relationships. I'm very into hiking, and there's a certain mountain in our area I've wanted to hike. I invited one of my cousins, Sarah, because I know she loves outdoorsy stuff. Sarah agreed and suggested inviting one of our other cousins, Jeffrey, who also loves hiking apparently. I like Jeffrey, but I didn't know because we haven't spoken that much since we were kids. One person led to another, and now we have 8 people going on this hike. All are at least somewhat fit and in decent health. My uncle's wife suggested inviting my cousin Jessica because she doesn't get out much and it would be good for her. I suggested we invite her to a different event and suggested going to the beach next weekend. I stated that Jessica isn't in the best shape and hiking this particular mountain might be hard for her because of her weight and health problems. Her knees and back often hurt. I didn't say this, but if something happened, none of us would be able to carry her back to a car because she's around 300 pounds. Everyone agreed, but my uncle's wife ran her mouth to Jessica, and now Jessica's feelings are hurt. I apologized to Jessica, but stood by why I didn't invite her, stating that she's not in good shape and she probably wouldn't be able to complete the hike safely. I invited her to the beach next weekend instead, and she refused. She now won't talk to anyone and is making posts on Facebook about how the world hates fat people. Am I the jerk for not inviting my cousin on a hike because of her weight and health? I think OP's not the jerk here. I think honestly OP's being just honest and pragmatic. I mean, honestly, this isn't some walk around the city. This is a hike up a mountain. It's honestly pretty intense work, and for somebody that is almost 300 pounds, isn't a world-class bodybuilder, and has back and knee issues. I mean, let's put it this way, people with knee and back issues who were completely healthy weights would probably already be enough for them to not go on a hike up a mountain. I think this is just one of those situations where, for the cousin, the truth might just hurt. This next story is from Load1414. Am I the jerk for intentionally drinking at family events so I'm not forced to babysit? I, 30-year-old male, am the only one of my siblings without children. This is a personal choice for many reasons I won't get into. My parents live with my sister, who's 9 years older and has 2 kids I see often. However, my brother, 2 years older, has a young girl and 2 little boys. All 3 are very likely on the spectrum, but my brother and his wife refuse to check through a doctor. They're also homeschooled in a very rural area, and I don't get to see my brother and his family very often, maybe once a year. Every time I do spend time with my brother and his family, it never fails that he finds a way to dump his 3 kids on me, who may have special needs, the second he can, so him and his wife can disappear from the kids area. I really only see my brother during large family events. The kids usually have their own separate area to play and eat, away from the adults smoking cigarettes and drinking, etc., so they can socialize and let loose, so to speak. My brother's 3 kids don't leave the house very much. Almost never. They live on a big farm. So when they go to these kinds of events, they're over the top excited and harder to manage. And one is nonverbal, but constantly walks around looking to play with literally deadly things. So needless to say, I'm not qualified or even capable to watch my brother's 3 kids by myself as well as they need. Plus their cousins, my sister's kids, also want to spend time with their cousins, so I'm sitting there by myself watching 5 kids aged 4 to 8 by myself, 3 of which may have special needs. One is a freaking monster, don't at me. And because I'm the cool uncle, I gave them a Nintendo Switch for my own peace of mind. My brother assumes every time I'll just watch his freak trophies. It's gotten so blatant on my brother's end that lately at family events, my brother will give me a physical paper list of parental duties, a backpack with stuff for the kids, then turn his phone off in front of me, then walk away after dumping his kids on me. I go to these family events to spend time with my whole family, not to be an isolated babysitter. I love my nieces and nephews, but this is one of the reasons I didn't have children in my 20s. Family events are just as important to me as other parents there, and they can manage to watch their own kids. But my brother always finds a way to ditch me with his kids, then ultimately my sister's kids join in too. I don't go to these family events to be a babysitter, so I've just started drinking a bit before I show up, and drink a little bit consistently enough to safely say I shouldn't have 5 small children in my care. Since these times are really the only times my brother sees me, he thinks I'm a drunk and spreading rumors as such. So I think OP's not the jerk here, but I also feel like they're probably going about this the wrong way. Like, it does work, but it also does look bad, and do you really have to feel like you need to get drunk to actually enjoy a family event every single time? I mean, I imagine a lot of people might because they hate their family, but OP clearly wants to enjoy it. They shouldn't have to drink. They should just be honest and be blunt, and if they try to continue to drop the kids off on you, you put your hands up and you walk away. If that makes you a jerk, then I guess your whole family is going to tear into you for not just being babysitter uncle. This next story is from Calm Hurry 8589. Am I the jerk for telling a fellow mother of a special needs child that my daughter is not responsible for her child? I have 2 children who we'll call Maria, 14-year-old female, and David, 7-year-old male. David's on the autism spectrum. He's non-vocal and requires a fair bit of specialized care. Since his birth, Maria's had to take on a partial caring role for David for a variety of reasons. I make sure that this is not to an extent where she's taking care of him, however, just enough so that she can help out while not losing on her own life and experiences as a child. Unfortunately, this doesn't always work out as intended, and sometimes Maria does have to step up when I and my husband fail. But I always make sure to make it up to her and reward her for the time she helps us out, like I normally would a paid caretaker. This summer, I enrolled Maria in a summer art program. She'd been looking forward to it for months and was ecstatic on the first day. This enthusiasm quickly turned sour, and she stopped wanting to go after only the first 2 weeks. This was because Maria was essentially assigned to watch over a girl we'll call Helen. Helen is a girl who is also on the autism spectrum. I know Helen's mother personally, and when she learned that her daughter and mine were going to be in the same art classes over the summer, she asked the organizers personally to essentially assign Maria to be Helen's mandatory friend over the summer. Over the first 2 weeks, Maria was essentially burdened with Helen. She spent a good chunk of the class time helping Helen out with her own projects instead of being able to work on her own. She also at one point had to help one of the teachers out when Helen began to have an anxiety attack and did not get to do any art the entire day. When I learned of this, I was livid. I contacted the organizers of the art program and went off, demanding my money back and threatening to report them for having a student, and a minor at that, responsible for the care of a special needs child. They let it slip to me that Helen's mother told them that I and her were close friends, which is not the case. I called Helen's mother up as well and went off, demanding to know where she got the nerve to ruin my child's own experience and treat her like a caretaker for her own child. She claimed that Helen wanted to do the art program, but she was afraid that she wouldn't be able to do it alone. That Maria had experience with special needs children and that she felt safe with her being next to Helen's side. She then yelled at me, called me a heartless jerk, and said that I should know where she was coming from. I got my money back Monday, and I'm looking into private art tutoring options for Maria. When my husband learned what happened, he lost it. Said I should be understanding of Helen's mother considering our own situation, so now I'm second guessing myself. I think OP's definitely not the jerk here. While in both situations you could say, yeah, they're helping out somebody that's on the spectrum, it's not even remotely the same thing. This is something that OP's daughter is going to for their fun for summer. I'm sorry, but they have no personal tie to Helen. They have no responsibility for Helen, and it is just not fair to Maria to try to saddle them with taking care of Helen because they have experience. I think it's just a ridiculous notion. I mean, I feel bad for Helen, but it's not Maria's responsibility, and definitely not at the cost of their experience. This next story is from Throwaway AITA 284. Am I the jerk for wanting my adult stepdaughter, 18, to move out? So, small backstory, my husband and his daughter moved into my house back in 2016. I was more than happy for my stepdaughter Erin to move in, since she doesn't get on with her own mother. Me and my husband have a child of our own now who's now 5. Erin and my son get along so well, and she's amazing with him, but sometimes I get a little jealous about the bond they have. My son will only want to be hugged by her or spend his time with her. He even stopped wanting me to read him a story at night and says he likes the way Erin does it better. I admit this makes me jealous, but it's not the reason I want her out, like my husband keeps thinking is the reason. We recently found out we're having another child, and since our home only has 3 bedrooms, there just won't be enough room. I want to turn Erin's room into a nursery room. Since it's my house, I thought my husband would understand that I want my room back, as I was nice enough to let her stay here for 6 years. She's 18 now and legally an adult, so I don't feel any guilt about asking her to leave. Her college doesn't have any accommodation, so she lives here while at college, so I understand it would be difficult for her to find a place to stay. She could even move back in with her own mother while she looks for a place. My husband is mad at my decision and is calling me a jerk and saying if she goes, then he goes too. I don't want to lose him too, but I feel like this is my decision, not his. I've not told Erin about this yet, but I'm planning to soon so I can get on with decorating before I physically can't. I'm worried she'll think I'm a jerk too, since I still want a relationship with her. So please help me. Am I the jerk? It's so nice that OP, out of the kindness of their heart, let a 12-year-old stay in their house for the next 6 years. OP wasn't like those cruel-hearted people that kick their kids out at 12. And I don't really understand why OP felt the need to include a paragraph about how they're jealous of her, other than like trying to justify kicking them out because you're jealous of her. I don't know. It sounds to me like despite living there from 12 years old and over the course of 6 years, that you never really developed any kind of relationship, and honestly you don't really care that much about her, because most parents, if they cared, wouldn't kick their kid out even at 18. Especially while they're attending college and they literally probably cannot afford anywhere else. Our next story is from TA Wife Work 35. Am I the jerk for telling my wife she needs to find another job? Me, 26-year-old male, and my wife, 24-year-old female, have been married for 4 years. During those 4 years, she had the same job which requires her to be away Friday to Sunday, so she leaves early on Friday and returns about 4 or 5 p.m. on Sunday. Occasionally, it would be leaving on Saturday and returning Sunday. She also has to work some of the school and public holidays. I work full-time and get just a bit above minimum wage in tips, so our bills are split 60 her and 40 me. While I find myself struggling with money and having to borrow from the joint bank account, my wife has never had this problem. I know she's getting paid more than I do as she works for a high-profile client, but I'm not sure by how much more. She also wouldn't tell me exactly what she's doing. All I know is that it's connected to her degree and it's 100% not a sex work or nothing in that industry. The reason why she won't tell me is because she signed the contract and it's highly confidential, so she's not allowed to go into details. She does chores around the house but doesn't cook. She admits herself she's a bad cook and hates it. Instead, she would order either those pre-made healthy meals you then heat up for herself or takeaway. When I'm home and she hasn't ordered, she'll order for me too. So most of the day while I'm working, she's either in our house chilling, watching TV, playing video games, reading or exercising, or shopping or in the gym. Over the years, I got annoyed with this and have asked her to find another job so she has something to do while I'm working instead of wasting her day. She told me she is not wasting her day but relaxing, and her job pays her enough so she can afford the lifestyle she wants. I said it's not fair on me as I come home tired while she's done nothing all day, to which she said I can find another job or a different job, but I'm a jerk for wanting her to find another job because I feel tired when coming back from my work when she already has a job she loves. After, she won't talk to me. I've spoken to my family, and while my parents agree with me that she needs to work, my sisters took my wife's side and called me a massive jerk. I would agree with the sisters. I think it's just unreasonable to ever expect anybody to just give up a job that they love and a job that pays them well. If their schedule they have because of the work they do is something that is just not functional for OP, then I think this is an OP problem and maybe a relationship issue stemming from OP's side. Because clearly the wife loves their work and they have no issues. It might just be an incompatibility thing, but to sit there and insist that she needs to get a different job or quit because it makes you upset, I don't think it's reasonable, and I think it makes OP the jerk. Honestly, it sounds to me like OP's just upset that they're not working a job that leaves them as miserable as OP does, so they're expecting their wife to quit and find one that does. No, sorry. And our final story of the day is from Green Toad. Am I the jerk for asking my girlfriend to not embarrass herself by bringing up shameful stuff at a dinner party with my company's CEO? My girlfriend had a kind of rough upbringing, and now she turned out really successful. She's also probably the most self-confident and self-assured person I know, which I really admire, but just once in a while she says stuff that's socially uncomfortable. For example, we were going to a dinner and my friend kept apologizing for her messy car. My girlfriend said, "Girl, I grew up in a hoarder house and I'm in the middle of shoveling crap out of that house. There's nothing on earth that could disgust me anymore." And while that's true, it was kind of an uncomfortable overshare. Another time, her coworker was talking about how their kid was really shy and she didn't know how to help. My girlfriend was like, "Give her time, I'm sure she'll grow into herself." I didn't talk to anyone in school. Literally, I had no friends, if you'll believe it. One last time, my girlfriend and I were at a networking event, and one of my coworkers joked about how my girlfriend should enjoy grabbing thirds of food when she's young because she can't eat like that forever. Without missing a beat, she said, "Oh, I don't think about food restriction like that anymore. It's an eating disorder trigger. Anyway, I'm trying to bulk up." Anyway, we had a big argument about it. We were invited to a dinner at my company's CEO's house this coming weekend, along with a few peers. I asked her not to share anything uncomfortable there. She asked what I meant, and I gave her the same examples. I told her that kind of shamelessness about stuff most people find shameful is awkward. She was like, "But it's not really shameful, I got over that self-hating crap. And renovating and flipping a house? So many of your coworkers talk about that." I said it wasn't the house flipping. It was the fact that it was her family home and it was a hoarder house. And it was weird to shamelessly talk about having no friends and an eating disorder. She was like, "That stuff's in the past. Why would I be insecure now?" I got exasperated and asked her to just not share stuff that most people would be embarrassed to say at the dinner. And she got angry and said that it sounded like I thought her whole life is embarrassing, so she should shut up. I said no, just talk about current stuff. Like you just got a promotion, traveled to Europe, bought your dream car. And she snapped at me, "But I'm also still shoveling cat piss stinking garbage every day. So it sounds like you're embarrassed of me. Screw you for saying I should have more shame." I'm darn proud of myself. It sounds like you're the one ashamed. I'm still worried about how this dinner party will go, and I'm questioning whether I screwed up by saying something. Am I the jerk for asking my girlfriend to not embarrass herself at a dinner party with my company's CEO? I think OP better apologize, and apologize quick and hope they forgive them, because I think this girlfriend's mindset is super awesome. For them to basically look OP in the face and say, "Screw you, I'm darn proud of myself, and it sounds like you're the one ashamed," which is true, is awesome, and OP better hope that a person that awesome forgives them. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another Am I the Jerk Here story that was way crazier than any of the ones in this video, click on that left video. Or, if you missed my latest video, check out the one on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.